All right, guys. Just want to say thank you for joining today. We got our weekly training here, so stay tuned every week, 4 o'clock Central on Thursdays. I'll just give a quick heads up that it might get a little hairy over the next couple weeks because I will be traveling. So I'll be going to I'm actually going to Connecticut tomorrow till Sunday. Come back on Monday, and then I head out to Pittsburgh Tuesday to Friday. So maybe sporadic changes, so just keep an eye on your email. But we'll keep this rocking and rolling. And so today, what we're going to talk about is, I think, some of the most important things to understand this industry is case design. So a lot of people coming from wherever you're coming from typically start to gain some biases on case design. And then once you step out into more of an independent marketplace, some people stick to their old ways. It's not a bad thing, not a good thing. It's just different. So what we try and look at from the multi-carrier environment is, the main objectives that we're looking at truly is, how do you well equip yourself to design and deliver the right case design that will help you win several clients in the future. It's not always about that one case. We have to think beyond and what type of impact and implementation implication that each case will have. So, truly what the objective is how do you master the art of creating case illustrations across multiple carriers? Because once again, we have the ability to run multiple carriers. You want to learn how to choose the right products based on the client's needs and priorities. And that's why a lot of times we ask a lot of questions, and we'll get into that too. Simplifying the complex product options to build clear and actionable illustrations. This gets a little tough, and I'm going to show you two different ways that you can run illustrations. But most importantly, the whole objective really is to get to this last one, right? Build the client's trust and close more business by presenting tailored solutions. So when we think about this, we talk about why does it matter? What is the whole point of it? And we like to say clients deserve options. As I always like to joke, the worst thing that happened to me was when they came out with the value meals at these fast food places. Because for $1, I could get a chicken sandwich to go with a burger and other things. And now all of a sudden I have more options. It doesn't mean show someone 20 different options because there is a fine balance between too many options to make them think about it and too few options to say, well, does this person only sell one product? So there has to be a fine mix between. However, you know, clients do deserve options, not one size fits all. Good example, myself, I would probably be at a different carrier versus someone like I'll pick on Attila because his camera's on and he looks incredibly skinny. So someone like Attila might go for a carrier that has a more emphasis on price, strong price, whereas me, I'm looking for the best underwriting offer due to ailments. So, not one size fits all. What I like to say to clients, feel free to steal this if you want. Underwriting is like an art and not a science. If it was a science, then everybody would have the same products and you wouldn't have any variation. But because it's an art, we have 30 different carriers at our fingertips, and all of them are going to paint a different self-portrait of you. You get to pick which one you like the most. So having this bigger platform allows you the flexibility to give you a competitive edge over, say, a captive agent, right? So we'll pick on New York Life. All they can sell is New York Life. Northwestern Mutual. All they can sell is Northwestern Mutual. We have whole life. We have IUL, GUL, they have term, we have term, but things like that. So with these custom options, we can provide more flexibility to give the client what they want and give us the upper hand. It can provide simplification in decision making once you have the right case design down. Now, there are several ways that you can do that. You can trust on, the people who brought you in the industry or, myself. I'm always here to help out any way that I can. But, in the process of the simplification of design, you're going to see some carriers that you favor over others. You might like their underwriting better. You might like speed to issue better. Things like that are important to some people. So you're going to figure out what you like best about the carriers you like working with. And it isn't always about the numbers. If you always go by the cheapest is the best, then we've lost. In the absence of value is cost. And when you talk about the numbers, for example's sake, could someone find value in putting more into a policy versus less? Let's talk about living benefits. Living benefits have a built-in feature and cost, so they do cost more, but is the value worth the cost? Much like you can always equate it to a cell phone. Everyone has the latest and the greatest cell phones, right? But we can still always buy flip phones. Flip phones can text. Flip phones can call. Flip phones can actually get on the internet too. Not good, but they can. So the fact of the matter is if it's always about cost, then let's buy the cheap flip phones. There's no such thing as luxury brands anymore. Plain and simple. You have to see that there's value to everything. So when we think about that, we have to master multiple platforms. And when we talk about multiple platforms, we can talk about the platform being the carrier. The carrier will each have their own specific platform. We've simplified that with WinFlex to help ease that conversation. And if you have the ability to set up some templates or ideas in advance on how you're going to help your clients, there's an opportunity to save you time. But we want to figure out the right tools. I have a tool that is free, being WinFlex, and I have a tool for the life insurance side we call Insight, which can help you in the multi-carrier space, save you time and potentially save you money, but it costs you on a monthly basis to use it. So we'll look at both. But each way is fine. It depends on what you want to use for your craft and what makes the most sense. But when we talk about choosing the right product, it is always customer centric, okay? Not every carrier is built the same. Not every opportunity is built the same for the customer. So when you choose the right product, it starts with questions. Mr. and Mrs. Client, are you looking more for something that gives you protection only? Yes or no? Is this protection something you want for a temporary basis, or do you want it to last your entire life, term or perm? Do you like the idea of growth, cash value, and potentially pulling out some money tax-free for retirement? Legacy, do you want to do this for estate planning? Or do you like the idea of a return of premium? So liquidity. So different types of exit strategies. There's different things that you have to ask in the beginning to narrow down the funnel and get to the right companies. That's why we say ask key discovery questions. Also health. How many people love asking people how healthy they are? What's their height and weight? Stuff like that. Always an awkward conversation. We have probably the most intrusive, job out of anybody that I know. We have to ask for socials. We have to ask for date of births. We have to ask height and weight. We have to ask age. We have to ask financials, just so people can pay a bill or so they see it that way, right? So with these discovery questions, you got to find a way to flavor it up. So if I said to you on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being 1 foot in the grave, 10 feet being like you're about to run a marathon, what would you say your number would be and why? Most people will land around a 6 or a 7, and they'll say, well, I got some back pain. I ran into an issue a few years ago. I'm on medication now for blood pressure or diabetes. Okay, diabetes. That puts off a ding in my head. What's your current A1C? What medication are you taking, if any? And when was the date of diagnosis? So that's when you start field underwriting to build in the left side. No, this is right, Phil. Right side is the underwriting, the left side is pricing, and you have to figure out how you marry the two together. That's when you bring in the illustrations to compare and show the trade-offs between the two, pros and cons of each. And what I typically do is I explain the pros and cons and let them pick. Two reasons why. One is to cover my own you know what. So later on, they say, well, you recommended this. Say, no, I gave you options and you chose that. And two, people don't want to be sold, they want to buy. So if I've made it tempting enough, they're just going to say, let's go forward with it. If I haven't, then I lost. So that's some stuff that you always want to kind of consider from the standpoint of educating the clients, having the discussion, and leading from that example. Um, so when we talk about building high impact illustrations, visuals, they can be important. Some people, if you are an engineer, you like the granular stuff, fees, charts, dollars in versus dollars out. But what I've always been taught, even when I first started in the industry, is don't tell me how the clock is made, just tell me the time. So you want to figure out if your person is a type A who likes a lot of detail, very straight to the point, then you get straight to the point and pick out what they like. If they're type B, flowery, conversational, like to just shoot the breeze a little bit, then maybe show them, pictures of what this policy can do for them. And a lot of carriers create stories inside of their illustrations to help you as producers, get the sale across. So we're going to look at some case examples. Like I said, I'm going to show you a free version and a not so free version. So we'll start out with WinFlex. Now, again, um, for those of us inside of 3Mark, log in, and then you'll get to your spot through there. I obviously have my own separate login, so I go right to WinFlex and I zoomed it out a little bit or zoomed it in to make it a little easier for everyone to see. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you an example of a death benefit focused product because it's quicker for me to run than an accumulation product. But a lot of times I have 4 or 5 select carriers that I usually have as my go-to, and then maybe throw in a couple extras just for funsies. But like once you kind of boil down to what you feel is the right carriers for you, then usually you have 1 or 2 options to give people choice. You usually want to try and narrow it down to 2. So it's A or B because that's the secret spot. 1 is too few. They want to check out some other options. 2, you got a couple to think about and make a decision, A or B. 3, 4, 5, now you have so much information, they're going to have to think about it. So 2 is usually the magic number, but we can do all the back end stuff first to see what makes sense. So if I hit start a new case, I'll start with my alma mater, the Partners Group product QOL. And what you'll see here is the value plus protector. Okay. So we have death benefit focus and accumulation focus. For ease of time, I'm doing the death benefit focus because I'm not trying to figure out incomes and all the other stuff. And if you want to see that, I've done it before in a different thing on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out too. But we'll just keep it simple this time. So protection, typically when you talk about a protection product, someone knows how much death benefit they need. Accumulation, someone knows how much premium they want to put in for income later. So you have a different solve for each one. So we'll start building the cake here with our first contestant, and we'll use good old Phil Resch, male, and we'll just say I'm 45, preferred, and Tennessee resident. Okay. For those who are a little newer to the industry, just so you know, these flat extras, you don't need to put those on right away. That would be something you would get after an underwriting offer. Flat extras could be like, say, you had cancer 3 years ago. They might give you a temporary flat extra of $5 per thousand for 2 years. Or you're a scuba diver, they might give you a flat extra for $5 forever. So there's different ailments or issues that could add a flat extra, but think about that. It's $5 per thousand. If you're doing $1 million, that's a lot of $5 per thousands that you're adding on top of the price. So if you ever want to learn more about that, we can always take that offline, but some people have asked about that. So we'll do solve for, and as I mentioned again, in a death benefit solve, you know the death benefit. So right now, if you want to plug and play and try and figure out the right type of face amount and the right type of premium, you can do that. This is you being the architect of your own design. But if we know the death benefit, we are going to solve for the premium. So now it opens up this entirely different category and section. So what you'll see here in the premium solve option, it has solve as the first option. That's usually the one you like to go with because with most carriers, it'll give you a lifetime expectancy guarantee, which is around mid 80s in the 0% column. Okay. So this one, ROP solve, basically says that this carrier has an ROP at 25, 100% ROP, so they figure out what the premium is to make sure you have that. Guaranteed premium, I can guarantee it to 100 if I want, but it costs more. So we'll just leave it at solve. We'll leave $1,000 by age 121, and what this is saying right now is the solve is I want $1,000 in cash, so the least amount of premium to have $1,000 in cash by age 121 with an illustration rate of 5.72. Now, as all of you know, I'm more of an S&P fan, so I'm going to put 100 in S&P on this one. On the protection products, I like 100% S&P. Keep it easy. We don't do disbursements on this. Policy options, we know exactly what they want. We're going to keep it level and annual, just for simplicity's sake. You can do monthly, quarterly, semi-annual. You're doing policy reviews. You can add 1035 money in here too to cheapen the cost. Discounts, we won't talk about that today, or riders. This is a very plain vanilla strategy. Okay? So we'll now start building out our extra carriers. So let's say, for example's sake, I've added in now 2 Phil Reshes with 2 American Generals. I'm going to go in the right-hand corner and change product. So let's say, for example's sake, we are going to add in Columbus. Now, when you see 2 products here with 2 different years, you pick the latest one. Okay? If you had a policy in underwriting with the 2023 and you had to revise it, that's when you would pick that one. But because this is the newest one, 2025, I'm going to update client and it'll shift everything over to this new product. Okay? You'll see there's a few errors here, so I'm just going to hit fix all errors, and then I'm going to hit fix errors again. So we have preferred. They say tobacco abstainer, just so you know that's standard non-tobacco, tobacco user. But we'll do solve for. We're solving for premium, $1 million. We want the cash value target of $1,000 by age 121, and we're going to pay max. So we're going to pay all years like we did in the other policy. Disbursements, none. Policy options, again, annual, you'll see. Interest rates, they did not carry over. You'll see it's at 0. And I know they're at, I think, 6.82 right now. I lied. 6.8. Where the hell are we? 6.68. It's close enough. 6.68. Done. Okay. So you always want to make sure when you're doing this, you're checking through all the properties to see if everything carried over appropriately. And like I said, it didn't in that scenario. So now I have 2 carriers here. I'm going to carry over another. So I did the little copy here. Now I got another QOL fill. And I'm going to go in and let's say, for example's sake, I'll add in North American. They're going to do the protection builder. So once again, you'll see it in the phrase protection versus builder plus. That is an accumulation product. So update client. And again, they're telling me I have to fix a few things. So they only go to 120, not 121. So fix errors, preferred, Tennessee, solve for, premium once again, pay premiums. So I am age 45. This is going to go to 100. So let's see if I can get it to 120 like everybody else. Okay, 120, 120. Index strategy, again, I do not like the multi-factor yield. They got in trouble with that index. Matter of fact, there's like a lawsuit right now on it. So again, S&P, disbursements none, annual level, all that is accurate. We're done here. Add in another, change product, and let's go with let's do Symmetra, and you'll see the protector product there. If you ever see CAUL, that's current assumption. That's like a CD has a fixed rate. That's them giving you a fixed rate. It costs more, so don't pick it. But let's look at here. We got preferred 45 index accounts. I do not want to do the Putnam. I want to do the S&P. Solve for, solve million cash value 121. We got everything we need with these carriers. So I just pick four. You can add in more if you want to. If you really want to, I can take all these, I can copy them, and then I could change the gender if I wanted to, say I had a spouse who's also 45 and see exactly what it would cost for them too. So there's a lot of stuff you can do here, but let's say now I want to calculate all four of these. I built it. Now the design is hit select all, and I've checked all the boxes over here. Now you see this big orange button in the right that says calculate. Don't hit that one. That'll calculate the one you're on. So we want to go to the left here with the calculate and hit this one, and it'll calculate all four at the same time. So one time I had a client who said, I want to see monthly, quarterly, annually, and semi-annually. So all I did was copy this down and then send him the link. I was like, I'm not going to explain this to you. You can dive through the numbers if you're going to be like that. I'm not doing it. So, the other thing that we always have to remember is time is money. So the more time you invest on running a bunch of illustrations just so someone can see numbers, you're losing. So you have to get them to the decision. So what you have right here is the four carriers. And if I change it to initial premium, it'll go lowest to highest. As you can see, Corebridge is number one. You have Symetra number two, North American, and Columbus here, rounding out the bottom. Now, I like Columbus, but they are not essentially the first place I would go for a protection sale, as you can see. So if I look at the numbers here, 6616, and we open it up to see how it works. Once again, our emphasis is on death benefit, not accumulation. So we don't care too much about the zeros here because there's a greater purpose for the 616 other than cash value growth. So you'll see the million here. You also have the million in the guaranteed column, and you'll see the ROP comes into play here, 165, 396, so it's dwindling down, but you get this big surge right there, meaning if you want to cut bait and your policy isn't performing, then you'll be guaranteed at least the 165, 396. Now, there are some governors to this, but let's just keep it easy. Right here, you see 165, 165. Here it's a 50%, so 66 versus the 132. But when we look at guarantees, we want to look at the far left-hand column, and you see life expectancy guarantees. This policy goes all the way to age 86 with absolutely no returns as long as the client pays their premium. Now, when you see that, that tells you that most men live to about 78 to 82. So you'll see a lot of financial professionals in our industry that will take a guarantee to 85, 95, 100, or 105 because then it'll reduce the cost here and make it more tempting for the customer. But if you put less in, this guarantee on the 0% column will probably go to 81 or 82, just to give you a heads up. It's all dependent upon what's put into the policy. But trick of the trade, because I know you guys will go up against whole life people sometimes. The minute your client shows the whole lifer this illustration, They're going to say your policy lapses at 87. What are you doing? Well, you have to coach and educate your client that this is guaranteed charges from day one, and no carrier has gone to guaranteed charges, especially on day one. And you're telling me that the stock market or the index, the S&P 500, will produce 41 years of zero or negative returns, yielding to a 0% rate of return, statistically impossible. If that were the case, I would tell you to cut bait at year 25 and get your money back. So we have to understand the mechanics behind all this, and you have to let your customer know so they have an educated conversation because they're going to shop you more than likely. The idea of doing multi-carrier is to prevent that, but they're still probably going to do it. So we have for 6616 a guarantee to 86, and the policy under current conditions would last to 120. So let's take a look at Symetra. Would there be a value in spending $300 extra per year for the exact same death benefit? Get down to the illustration, guaranteed column. You have no return of premium. Policy lasts to 84. So if it were me, I would say that Corebridge is more cost efficient, has better living benefits, and gives you a longer guarantee in the 0% column, competitively speaking. Let's step it up. What does an additional 1,500 or 1,600 do for you with North American? Who knows? Let's find out. So we got 85, 82, 58, a million. Life expectancy guarantee stops at 75. So I don't understand what you're getting better from this other than a higher cost. So the only thing that will be better is the target premium will be higher because it's 8640, and I know Corebridge will be less because they're already at 6600. So let's just see what the target is. Target being what you make off of it. Oh, it's higher. So client will pay less and you'll get the residual income in the second year. So you actually make more with the Corebridge product too. Some people favor F&G. They're not designed for a death benefit focused product. They're designed for an income product. So that's why I did not show them on here. Just a heads up with that. Okay. So this is a way that you can do it. This is the free version, if you will. To give you insight on one of our carriers that's coming, Insight, they are a company that we can create templates with. So if I wanted to create and build a template, I could on this platform. So if, for example's sake, we pulled up Bill Resch and I have date of birth. Well, let's just say I am 45 in Tennessee, and again, preferred. I can create it from a template. So I created some templates here, an IUL death benefit focus. So I've already built in all of the stuff that I want, but for, reference sake, we'll take it from scratch. So create from new, we'll do index universal life. Next illustration. Now we want to solve for premium. We know that we want to solve for the entire life, and we want a $1 million death benefit. Okay, next. This one has its default set to the S&P 500 already. You can do carrier defaults, but I did S&P for everybody, so I'll do it again. Then we're going to keep it level. Everything here, annual, no disbursements. We'll keep the reports the same. We'll put my information in. Found me. Now it has all the parameters I need. Next step is check the carriers. So we got Columbus, the plus. We've got, this is the other Maxicum. They're working on getting the QOL one in here. So let's just look at the Value Plus Protector as is. Heck, we can add in a ton of them. Like I could add in the Wealth Preserve, all this other stuff, Lake Mutual of Omaha, NLG with their, well, this would be Summit, um, Protection Builder. We've got Symetra with their Swift Protector. And I don't think I missed anyone. I added NLG. So we'll just hit run. I'm going to run all four carriers at the same time. And you can change it. Like I can add a configuration in here. How many guaranteed years? How many non-guaranteed years? We can look at, cash values and other things at different time frames too. But let's just look at the guaranteed years. Got two more to go. All right. So A258, 6982. This is the other version of Corbridge's product that has no living benefits. As we all know, living benefits have no added cost on top of it. It's people call them free. They're built in. So for 200 extra dollars, you get the chronic, critical, and terminal. But now, as you can see here, it was just check boxes. I put in all the information for the customer, and next thing you know, we're ready to rock and roll. Take it one step further, and I'll take the top three. And let's say I want to create a presentation from it. So, kind of going back to what we talked about from a simplification process, if you want to pretty up your opportunity, you can use things like this. And I'll just say fill DB focused. And I'm just going to hit next, import. And I've made templates for this too, but just to give you an idea of how this can enhance the conversation with customers, so you don't have to go through all the jargon and all the pages and all the other crap. This will put it all in one clean and concise spot in a presentation for you. Hopefully, it'll finish up here in a second. Sometimes it bogs down in the afternoon because I got the kiddos home and, Netflixing or video gaming and stuff like that. I'll hit refresh, see if that sparks the interest here. So this is a presentation. Here we go. All right. So we can do a few things with this. So we'll take, for example's sake, a chart. I want to build out a chart. So we can say the cumulative premium over time. We can say the guaranteed net death benefit. We can talk about the net surrender values. We can show, all different things on here. And non-guaranteed death benefit. So we'll hit apply. And now you see this. So I can actually create a presentation. I can add a cover letter saying this is what we're talking about, Mr. and Mrs. Client. But if I hit present, it'll go in and it'll say, here's the products that we looked at. Here's a spreadsheet. This is initial guaranteed premium and how long the policy lasts till. As you can see, Protection Builder dropped off, then Symetra dropped off, and then you got Corebridge. You go to the charts and you can see the cumulative premium. How much have you paid over time? At 85, you've paid X, Y, or Z. Guaranteed net death benefit goes the farthest here. So Corebridge, non-guaranteed, you'll see cash values and cash value growth. You would assume Symetra would be, or North American would be the highest because they're the most expensive by a long shot. But you'll see Symetra actually has higher cash value and then Corebridge. So if cash value matters to a customer, they might actually pay the extra $200 for Symetra over Corebridge. And then non-guaranteed death benefit, don't really need to show this. It's a million all the way across. So this software we have It is available. They will be at the Great Collaboration to kind of show demos and other stuff. But this you can get for about 215 a month. And when you think about it, what you can offer and show a client from this standpoint, you have term, IUL, whole life, second to die. It gives you a chance to simplify your process and make prettier illustrations. So I can simply just show something like this to a customer versus whipping out a bunch of different illustrations and confusing them. So, food for thought. You can do it this way, free. You have options here. Just let me know if you want, and we can get you hooked up with Insight. So, kind of going back to this, put a bow on everything. So, tips for better case design conversations. So, you want to talk about the story. You want to ask the client, what do they care about more so you can tailor the option for them. The idea here is you're eliminating the no's. So someone is going to have, a question or a reason to say no. But if you're asking the right questions, you're going to eliminate all of those from the customer standpoint. You could use whiteboard. Some people are very good at storytelling with whiteboard or visuals. Some people use a deck. So I've asked clients, are you better at visuals? Like, would you like me to show you a presentation? Or do you want, a conversation? And you, again, tailor based around them. Printed illustrations, you can send them to the client if you want. I usually don't because they usually send them to someone else to look at too. But I like the idea of the presentation, so you have them all in one spot. Practice your delivery. Tone and pacing does matter. You want to make sure that the client understands everything as you go through the process, and always ask questions, or have them ask questions throughout the process. So, understanding why, it always comes back to the client's need, and, really that's what we're here for. So, case design support, help navigating through all the busy stuff to get you the right solutions for your customer, to get you in the driver's seat and making more money. So, with that, I'll say thank you. Want to open it up for anybody who has questions. I want to keep it pretty concise, but want to throw it out there for anybody who has questions.
I only have one. It's a quick question.
Sure.
So you said for Corbridge there's a return of premium option that also
Mhm.
shows the illustration. Is Corbridge mainly the one that only does the return premium option and it only works like after 25 years? If you are not satisfied, you can get the whole money back that you just paid inside. And what are the requirements? Because you said there are some caveats or
Yeah.
requirements to this.
So with Corebridge, they have 50% at year 20 and 100% at year 25. But if the death benefit is 40% of the death benefit is lower than what you put into the policy, then you're going to get 40% of the death benefit. That's the caveat, is it's whichever is less. In this situation, 165 is less than 400,000, which was the $1 million death benefit. So they'll give you 100% ROP. But if it's the other way around, you put 400,000 in, but the death benefit 10%, 40% of that equaled 165, you get the 165.
Yeah.
Um,
This is mainly
other
used when just to calm the client down that you can't really lose money with it, even if the stock market is not performing right. That's kind of the only use case.
Yep.
Or
Or if I bought a policy and my wife bought a policy, my objective was to give her a death benefit in case she needed it. She gave me one in case I needed it. And then she passed away. And I'm like, well, maybe we don't have kids. Maybe I just wanted to return a premium and I'll take the money back and use it for retirement. So it gives people comfortability knowing there's an exit strategy in case they need it. They're not the only ones who have it. North American has it. Mutual of Omaha has it. Um, there's others. I think Trans has it. So there are several carriers that do have a return of premium on their protection products. But when it comes to cost efficiency, typically you're going to see in the death benefit place, the top two is usually the top two that were there. So Symetra and Corebridge are usually the top two when it comes to competitive um, protection products, to say the least. So, but yeah, that's it. Again, it goes back to preference. Like if someone said, I want a guarantee all the way to 121, maybe the protection builder from North American would be more cost efficient than Corebridge's QOL product or whatever, because you can dial a guarantee with some carriers, some don't even have that. So it just depends.
I appreciate your answer. Thank you.
No problem. Good question. Any last questions?
Hey, Phil,
Yeah.
you, about how many carriers do you typically choose compared to give options?
So I start out with about four, maybe five personally, and then I'll dwindle it down to two to say, hey, we searched through a ton of carriers, and this is what we came up with. And to be quite frank, I mean, if I wanted to in this scenario, I could literally check all of the boxes and do it. But, from experience of doing this, American National no longer in the industry for IULs or for, life insurance. But let's say we do the protection for Hancock. They do a little shady stuff here. They have this vitality crap, which is awful. Um, so we can add in the Wealth Preserve from Lincoln, the Life Protection Advantage, so not the income, but protection, Nationwide's Protector. I'm going to skip Pac Life and Penn Mutual for right now, but we'll add in the Life Flex from Principal, Protective, Founders for Pru, the Protector from Securian, and I think it's the Financial Choice. So we can run them all in this and then you pick your favorites. But the idea is that if you're going to run the multi-carrier environment to show more than two or three carriers, you'll confuse the crap out of the client. So, you'll see here Nationwide actually here has a more cost-efficient price, so 6302. So not bad, but they only have 20 years of guaranteed. So Mr. and Mrs. Client, would you rather pay $100 extra a year for double the guarantees? So kind of going back to what we were saying, in the absence of value is cost. And you'll see here, you can run the full gamut, and that's got to be wrong for Transamerica, but if it's right, sweet mother of God. Um, so yeah, you can see here, and then if you want to pick your favorites or you want to skip that and do that, you could do that. So it's up to you to figure out, like if Hancock, I don't like Hancock because they usually show higher rate of returns, and they might have it here. Interest rate. Actually, that's lower. So 611. A lot of times they show higher rate of returns because they have higher fees. So I usually don't sell Hancock unless it's like the big case we had to do that we did, they took 30 million of it because they have capacity, but they're usually not my go-to. So when you think about certain carriers, maybe Hancock, Protective, Principal all have a very similar story. So if you already know the story is the same, you pick the lead dog, or maybe you like Principal better than Hancock, you'd pick carriers that have some type of different flavor to them. So kind of going back to that variation. So if someone likes one carrier better than another due to a variation or living benefits or whatever, then you don't have to go down the line. You can skip some, but I probably wouldn't go higher than three. Usually two is a good one to go with.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, good question. So you can do it faster on this. WinFlex is not as fast for that. June National Life Group is right here. So the Summit Life is 11,782. Once again, their designs are more designed for accumulation or a balance between accumulation and death benefit. So in certain scenarios, you'll see NLG different. If you talk to people who are very biased to NLG, so if I could give you a raw $1 million of full permanent insurance with Nationwide, Corebridge, Hancock Mutual for this price, you might have someone come in who loves National Life Group. And what they'll do is they'll put a 50% rider on the IUL to get it down to like $6,000. And I say to people, I'm like, why the hell would you do that when you can just have the client have full, permanent insurance versus, giving them a 50-50 rider, to be biased to National Life Group. The only way I would see that make sense is if you want to cheapen the cost and they're only on an I-10 only, then once again it goes back to that marrying between underwriting and pricing. So National Life Group might be the only way you can go. So stuff like that matters when you talk about that portrait that we talked about in the beginning. What type of portrait are you making for the customer? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, you did.
Right.
I mean, I might have follow-up questions, but later on.
Totally fine. Totally fine. So, and just again, to beat a dead horse, NLG, Corbridge, Mutual of Omaha, Symetra, and Columbus are going to be at the Great Collaboration. So if you want to learn more about their products and stuff like that, they'll have a 30-minute presentation and booths. So you can definitely, and North American, you can get some detail and information from all of them right from the source at the convention. So just a couple of extra value adds there, for the event. So, any other questions, Pooja?
Still, I have a question for you.
Yep.
So I have a client. Will it be a good idea to invite them for the collaboration? He just came back after 2 years, asking for
No.
some. No?
I wouldn't. Yeah,
Okay.
because what the idea is it's all stuff to help you grow as a financial
Mm-hmm.
professional.
Mm-hmm.
So to come in and start talking about like, here's how you get clients, and they're like, so when I did a lunch and learn or a micro collaboration in Dallas last year, one agent decided to invite two people. One was a doctor, and he cussed out the agent after. He's like, "Why am I wasting my time hearing about all, they want to just talk to me." So,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. If you want to set up a time to talk, I'll be in Dallas from the 30th to the 6th. So I'll
Okay.
be around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I will email you then. And I have two more people who are interested in joining the team. They are good to come, right?
They are good to come. Yep. Anyone who
Okay.
has the interest to grow, learn, and the big thing too is protection, for people who are going to come there to try and recruit. This is not a recruiting event. If I hear
Mm-hmm.
some people are coming in to sloth around and try and get people in their downlines, they'll be asked to leave. So the idea is that we're going to collaborate and grow and learn together.
Sounds
So,
good. Thank you.
yep,
I will email you the client details.
sounds good. So, all right, guys. Well, what do you think? Productive? Good stuff? Learned some stuff today? Awesome. So, as always, everything like is going to be up on the YouTube channel probably later today. So, under videos, you'll see all the videos. If you guys haven't participated on the Wednesday nights, great opportunity for what I call raw, conversational stuff. So, we talked about fixing a broken IUL case last night. We talked about Columbus and long-term care, wills and trusts. So we have a bunch of different varying stuff on the Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central. You can come with your questions. It's more open forum, but we have the lectures, if you will, like we did today here. So if you feel like subscribing, at Valor Financial, you will never miss out on a video coming through. But as always, appreciate the opportunity to serve. Looking forward to seeing other ways that we can collaborate together. And let me know if you guys need me for anything, okay? Appreciate it. And have a great weekend. Happy Easter for those celebrating. And for those who don't, heathens. Heathen. No, I'm just kidding. Have a good weekend, guys. All right?
Same to you, man. Thanks.
Thank
See
you,
ya.
Phil.
Thank you,
Bye.
Phil.
Bye.